All right. Well, greetings and good morning to Brett Riker. Is that correct?
Good morning, Brett Reichert. It could be said Rickett if you're in the deep south, but we go by Reichert
All
mostly.
right. Well, we'll keep it at Riker.
Thank you.
I'm Yashina Colbert Bradford, a member of the South Metro Democratic Women Council, and we have started to do more casual conversations with candidates, letting the citizens get more involved and engaged as far as knowing who the candidates are. So this is just a casual conversation. Just relax, don't take us too serious, and just be as authentic as possible. All
Thank
right.
you.
So the first question, I would say first, just introduce yourself to us. Who is Brett Riker?
Right. Well, hello, and thank you for the opportunity. As you know, my name is Brett Reichert. I've been in Hapeville now for 3 years. I lived in East Point before that, and Atlanta before that. I'm originally from a small town in South Georgia called Thomasville.
Okay.
I'm a state employee. I work at the University of West Georgia, have also worked at Georgia State and Clayton State in my career. I'm very interested in this race because I just love this area and I love Hapeville, and I want to step up to another service position, a more official position. The good news is I'm not trying to unseat anybody. The current person in the seat I'm running for is stepping down. So I decided to step up.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
All right. So give us just a little overview of the seat that you will be holding. And it is the councilman at large. What is the difference between the councilman at large and just councilman over Ward 1 and Ward 2?
Well, good question. As you may know, every little municipality has a different formula. In Hapeville, there's a mayor and 4 council people.
Okay.
The second position is called the alderman, which is sort of like an assistant mayor or mayor pro tem. And then there are really 3 council seats. We have 2 wards or 2 municipal divisions. So Ward 1 and Ward 2 are really kind of answering to the residents who live in those sections.
Okay.
The at-large council person is really open to serve the whole city, and I guess is a tiebreaker in some instances. So that's the seat I'm running for, the at-large position.
Okay. And what is the platform and why are you running to seek election?
So my platform is really based on a lot that I've learned about Hapeville and the area in the 3 years that I've lived here, and of course 2 years before in East Point. I also have gotten to know a lot of local residents, local business owners, and I started a Facebook group, a public Facebook group when I came to Hapeville because it didn't have one. There was Nextdoor, but I didn't really like the tone or feel of that. So I started a group called Hapeville Neighbors. And over the 3-year period, it now has 2,400 members. And I've really enjoyed hearing about what people post, what their concerns are, what their opinions are, and we don't always agree. I've also gotten to know a lot of personalities, and a lot of the things that affect Hapeville are really affected by the Tri-Cities. And so we're all kind of interconnected. And then of course, there's the airport and there's City of Atlanta. So there's a lot going on that's connected to this area. And I guess most willingly, I'm just ready to step up to have a part at that table, because in Hapeville, the mayor and the council and the aldermen are on a different election cycle. So they won't be up for election for 2 more years. And I wanted to already have a place on the council and have the momentum going so that whoever is in those 2 seats, I wanted to bring a little stability and forward mindset to the direction of the city and its relationship with the surrounding areas.
All right. And what exactly, just knowing that you've lived in Hapeville, how many years have you lived in Hapeville? If I missed that.
3 years now.
3 years? Okay. What have you seen in the 3 years that you've been there? Maybe some issues or solutions to those issues, or what may be things that are already in place that you will love to continue?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it kind of relates to my platform, which is based around 3 main pillars, which are protect, progress, and promote. So in the time that I've been here, there have been issues that are particular to Hapeville, but then also issues that affect a lot of urban areas. The ones that are particular to Hapeville, for example, are, we have a train that goes right through the middle of town, and it makes a lot of noise. It blows its horn every time there's a train, and you can hear it throughout the city. So the city rather is working with the train line to install silent crossings. And that has been a real learning progress, because that doesn't just happen overnight. You have to install all kinds of very expensive software and monitoring equipment, work with essentially a company that has millions of miles of real estate that's about 30 feet wide.
Wow.
And so that doesn't happen easily. We've got some issues with the condition of our streets, potholes, that kind of thing. There have been complaints with the trash collection and recycling service that we have here, because it was run by the city and then it was outsourced. So there was transition there. And then I think an issue that really is happening a lot around the Metro Atlanta area is gentrification, the cost of living, affordable housing, access to quality senior services, and public education as well.
Wow, a lot of great points. Now, I know you mentioned to protect, progress, and promote. What about the protecting part are you going to do differently? What does that encompass?
So under the idea of protecting, Hapeville in the past was seen as a cross through or a shortcut for a lot of criminals, to be honest. It was a shortcut to highways to get away from maybe Atlanta. And so one of the things that Hapeville has done is installed a surveillance system at all entry points around Hapeville called the Flock system, and it's an automatic license plate reader. And that has had a dramatic effect on the Hapeville police's ability to immediately detect, things like stolen vehicles and intercept those criminals before they ever leave the city. So I want to invest and continue to look at and invest in cutting edge tech and technology that detects and reports crime. Also, of course, want to support our law enforcement and firefighters and first responders here so that they have the best equipment that they need to do their jobs. A lot of folks might not realize that our Tri-Cities municipalities, when there's an emergency or someone on the flee, the police don't just stop at the city limits. They can, they have mutual agreements where they can go into the other municipality, and all of that takes coordination and good equipment. I know that police officers and firefighters in Hapeville received a substantial pay raise this year. And that was part of the city council work to make sure that we were competitive with other jurisdictions. We have also an elementary school in Hapeville, which is part of the Fulton County Board of Education system. And of course, Hapeville doesn't have any control over what Fulton County does with Fulton County schools, except that there is a large school in the middle of Hapeville where Hapeville residents send their children. And there's been a lot of proposals that have not been well received in Hapeville about some plans to split up the jurisdiction that serves that school. So that's definitely something that I want to advocate for, to keep that school intact and able to serve all of the students of Hapeville. And of course, we've got a lot of historic facilities around town, landmarks, and I think that there's a natural fear that with so much development that all of that stuff will just sort of go unnoticed or unprotected. And I think every community with a heart and soul and a history and deep roots needs to have a real intentional look at how it preserves its history, its story, its artifacts, and things like that. We've got a great historical museum called the Depot Museum here in Hapeville. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do. It is a wonderful gem for a town this size. So things like that, I want to make sure that we are monitoring and curating correctly and in a healthy way.
Right. And thank you for that. Due to COVID-19 and the legislative priorities, would you push or support what they currently have for COVID during COVID-19?
Well, in my heart of hearts, I have no problem wearing a mask. I'm vaccinated. I was anxious to get the vaccine as soon as it came out because I trust science. I
Mhm.
don't know what's in an aspirin. I don't know what's in a polio vaccine. I don't know what's in most of the food that I eat at a restaurant that's fast food, but I have no problems eating that or putting into my body. If I turn into a zombie in 6 months, well, so be it. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I know that I've lost relatives. I know people who have lost
Mhm.
friends and now children because they were not vaccinated. I respect their right to have a choice. But when the entire society and the entire world is suffering and we have a solution that that is available, I don't see any sense in resisting that. I believe that science is a gift of God who gave us the ability to figure out things and solutions for ourselves. And this mindset of rejecting that um, is very difficult for me when I see so much suffering that's unnecessary and so much loss happening around us. Who would have known that we would be in the second year this far along, headed basically into the third year of COVID now? And you look at some other countries and other parts of the world, the developed world in particular, where COVID is basically a thing of the past. Had we made better decisions from the very top of the country down to the state level in a more unified way months and months ago, we wouldn't be here at all. Um, so unfortunately, municipalities are subject to what the state government is saying. And right now, there is no mask mandate. There is no COVID vaccine mandate. So that is where we have to leave it, I think.
Great, thank you. And being in a resident of Hapeville for 3 years, I guess the main question would be, what will make you qualified over someone who's been a resident for decades?
All right. Good question. I have such great respect for lifelong residents of Hapeville, and there are many of them. I know many of them. I'm from a small town also, so I know that a connection to a place is very, very important, especially as the place itself is changing and if you don't feel like you have a voice or control. Um, but I do come from a small town. And I've learned so much about Hapeville. It reminds me of my hometown in a way, but only Hapeville is much smaller. Um, but I know that I've learned a lot over the years here by listening to people, by observing. As a state employee already, I'm expected to be accountable for every dollar that I spend, every decision I make, because in the university system of Georgia, we are there at the with the mission to serve the students and the taxpayers of Georgia. So I bring a mindset of integrity and honesty and accountability to the position, which I take very seriously. It's easy for people to say, oh, Hapeville's tiny, it's only 2 miles wide, it's only 6,000 people or so, easy. But I take it as seriously as I would if I were running for Atlanta City Council or any other major city because of our connections to the area. Um, we've got some really wonderful corporate neighbors here. Um, and the city council on Hapeville has relationships with all of them. But I'm also most interested in our local businesses, small businesses, the walkability of the town, the ability for people to, contact the city of Hapeville when they have a problem and get very quick resolutions or answers. Um, so I honestly go into this position fully able to say I have zero experience as an elected position, as an elected official. But I think I'm smart enough to figure out how to become a part of the city council and join a much more experienced team who knows how to run the city. Thankfully, the city also supports required municipal training, which is put on by the Carl Vinson Institute at UGA. So I look forward to participating in that and kind of learning the lingo of running a city. It's a new adventure for me professionally. I know it will take a lot of time and a lot of patience. And so that is what I'm willing to offer the residents of Hapeville.
Well, thank you so much, Brett. And just to kind of piggyback on a few things that you mentioned, one, I would like to get a little bit more information about affordable housing. You mentioned affordable housing. What does that look like to you? What does that mean to you?
So affordable housing, I thought, without being an expert in urban planning or that particular issue, I think when people hear and say affordable housing, there can also be a lot of confusion about what that means. Some people tend to confuse affordable housing with subsidized housing or public housing, and they aren't the same things. Affordable housing is what it is at its face value, which is, can I afford to live in this area and have a single family house or rent an apartment, and still pay all of my other bills? Typically, I think a good financial planner would say you should never spend more than a third of your take-home pay on housing. And as the metro Atlanta area develops, that's becoming harder and harder for people to do if they're only earning, a livable wage. So
Right.
I don't know what the solutions are to either raising wages to be able to afford more expensive houses, or intervening somehow in the pricing of houses so that we can save space for a mix of income levels, because we've seen what unmitigated overdevelopment and very eager, sometimes greedy developers will do in an area if someone isn't paying attention and holding them accountable to certain standards. So I've also experienced this issue personally. One of the reasons that I'm in the Tri-Cities is because I feel like I kind of got pushed out of Atlanta. I lived in a small condo on what we all know as the Beltline today, but I lived on a segment which was not yet built. It was just kind of talked about. And as soon as it was officially announced that the Beltline had been approved for the next segment, which ran right down my street,
Mm.
um, I got the tax bill the next month, and it was eye-popping because we had to help pay for the Beltline.
Oh,
So
wow.
a few days after that, I had to list my place for sale. And I thought, where can I go and afford to buy a house and still stay in the city? And that was the Tri-Cities. I think that's still true to a certain point, but certainly not for everybody, depending on what your income level is and your obligations with family, kids, and what elder parents and so on. And it's certainly something that my own parents dealt with. So it's an issue that's near and dear to my heart. And my commitment is to learn as much as I can about it so that I am well informed when those decision opportunities come.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Brett. Thank you for your time. And thank you for just giving me, it seems like you're all. And I really do appreciate that. And before we leave out, if you could just give the constituents just an idea of how to get in touch with you, your website, email, phone number, whatever it is, and what you need to continue this campaign.
Well, great. Again, thank you all. And thank you all to the members of South Metro Democratic Women's Council. If anyone would like to find me, I do have a Facebook page, which is pretty easy. It's just facebook.com/Brett, BRETT, the number 4 and council, Brett for council. And my website is brettforcouncil.weebly.com. That's Weebly, WEEBLY.com. It's linked to my Facebook page, which is probably the easiest way to find me. And my email, I have set up a council, a campaign email. It's on there as well. And I'm very open to people posting on that Facebook page or emailing me with their questions and concerns.
All
I want to be
right.
as transparent as possible.
Well, we really do appreciate it. And thank you again. Is there any last minute thoughts that you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to encourage everybody, regardless of who you vote for, to participate in the democratic society that we have. I think sometimes it's underappreciated. We take it for granted. The election in Hapeville is on November the 2nd. It's all day long at the rec center here in downtown Hapeville. You can find it. It's the Hoyt Smith Recreation Center. And I encourage you to get registered in the town where you live and participate in the cycle and attend city council meetings so that we know what the residents are thinking as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to interview with South Metro Democratic Women's Council. This interview is vital for the people and allows the community to get to know you personally and be enlightened about your platform. Good luck with your future campaign.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
You as well.
Bye.
Thank you.